This is Marshall, and I'm on with Bette Anne Wygant, and her website is bawygant.com. And you are the most awesome go to the light artist I have ever seen, Bette.
Oh, thank you, Marshall. So kind of you.
Well, and I really appreciate you coming on because just wow, that's all I can say. You really connect. There's
Thank you.
this eternal sense of motion and light that you have captured in your work that just simply amazes me. And what I want to do in this first segment with you is to talk about you and what brought you to creating this amazing
Oh,
go to the light art.
well, I'd have to say that many years ago, my father died in a plane crash. He made it through World War II.
Mm-hmm.
He was a pilot in the South Pacific. He flew a Ventura bomber,
Mm-hmm.
and then he was a Pan Am pilot. And in 1957, his plane went down on the way out to Honolulu. Clipper was called Romance of the Skies.
Mm-hmm.
And it was tough. I mean, growing up without a father. I remember running outside with my toy telephone when I hear a plane fly over and sit on the rock and looking up at the sky and having a conversation with him and telling him about my day. And I remember actually asking him if he would talk to God and see if he could come home now. But it left an emptiness, and it's something I never forgot.
Now, was this about the time that you launched your art career, at least starting to learn how to be an artist?
I was about a little over 3 years old when he died.
Okay.
So growing up with this feeling of being stuck in the middle of two worlds, I could talk to him and still be in this world, with my little telephone. So I was very aware that there are two worlds that meet. I mean, we're all one. We're all joined together.
Then you were a young child,
Yes.
what, 5, 6, 7, when you started really coming to this realization,
Yes, absolutely.
this sense of connection.
Yes.
Was that an enduring thing in your life, or did it pass with your childhood?
No, it stayed with me, and I always had a love of art. I always had a pencil in my hand drawing, or when I was little, I had watercolors, and I was always painting.
Hmm.
And then when I was about 11 years old, my grandfather, who actually moved out from Oregon to help take care of us after my father died, he and his wife were like really like my parents. He became ill with cancer,
Hmm.
and he was a big, strong, healthy man, a Danish immigrant, a farm. They had a farm out in Oregon. And when he was sick, he was reduced to like 75 pounds.
Oh my gosh. You lost your father in 1957. When did the cancer strike?
That was in 1964 when he died.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was the effect of losing your grandfather? What did you experience with him
Well,
that was different from what you experienced with your father, if there was something different?
definitely. I was actually a part of his caregiving. When he came home to die, he was home after the hospital. They couldn't do any more for him. And so I would rub his back and talk to him and, help take care of him. And especially when my grandmother, my mother were busy, I was his like best friend.
Hmm.
And it was time that I will always cherish being there because he was living between two worlds. He had friends that would come from heaven to visit with him that he played with when he was a child in Oregon.
Really?
Yes, he would talk to them and also talk to me, and it was a unique opportunity to be in the middle of two worlds.
Before you go further there, they were talking to him, but did you say they were talking to you as well?
They were talking to him, and he would tell me what they were saying.
Okay.
Yes, I could observe that. Yeah.
Did you have any doubts in your mind that your grandfather was having a genuine experience? Because conventional logic is, well, he's dying and he's going to be delusional and that kind of stuff.
Oh no, because he was very lucid with me. I mean, he'd say, "Rub it harder over here, it feels better." So he was in both worlds firmly.
He was moving back and forth. And actually, this is a very common thing in hospice care.
Yes,
I call it walking,
yes.
where people go out. And so He was in contact with childhood friends who had passed on.
Yes. And actually, in front of his sister, who had come out to also help take care of him, she was sitting at our side, and she said, "Well, we haven't seen them since we were kids." And then he said, "Well, they're here now," and she'd laugh and acknowledge what was going on as well. That was his sister. So,
So the rest of the family actually was not in denial about this. They were accepting of it.
oh, absolutely.
Did that make a difference for your grandfather,
Yes,
knowing he was accepted?
absolutely. He was so loved in this life. From childhood on, everyone loved him.
Uh-huh.
He was such a kind man. Yeah.
Wow. And so this was in 1964. Did your grandfather's passing have any impact on you in terms of your art?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Because as the years went on, I was always aware that we're surrounded by our loved ones at all times.
And then, as I recall, you lost a brother as well.
Yes, in 1974, my brother had graduated from Syracuse with high honors, had moved out to St. Louis, where he married his college sweetheart.
Mm-hmm.
And we got the call one night that he'd been shot in the head.
Oh,
Yeah, it was tough. He was just starting law school.
how did that affect you? What did you experience through all of that?
When it was happening, that day I felt very drained the whole day. I felt different.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that night when my mother was screaming when she got the phone call. I almost didn't wake up because it was part of my dream.
Right.
I was dreaming about blood on the streets. Yeah, that was a tough one. It was hard to move on, but I would say that with him because I could sense his journey into the light as well.
With your father and with your grandfather, they both knew that they were about to die.
Yeah.
But your brother being shot in the head, I mean, that would have all of a sudden been a sudden situation, which is
Yes.
in our interview series with Susan Shumsky. She talks about this is one of the principal causes why people get caught between worlds is that they don't know they're dead.
Right.
Did you get a sense that your brother was caught between worlds, that he was lost, that he didn't know he had died suddenly and violently?
No, because I could feel his light. I could feel him going into the light in a very high energy flight. And I painted that in Celestial Traveler.
Wow.
It was one of my first very large sculptural paintings. And I started it like a couple days after he died.
Wow.
Yeah.
You then sensed on the day of his death, you had dreams, a premonition dream.
I did.
Then you awoke to your mother screaming. Did you sense this connection with your brother going into the light and making the transition that day, or did it happen after?
Afterwards. When I was painting, I could feel it.
Okay.
It was a few days afterwards.
So, as when you started the painting, that's when you connected with your brother's spirit.
Right.
You could feel that he was telling you that he had made the transition.
Yes, it was on a journey. It was moving fast, and it was into the light.
I could see you have this interest from childhood in art, but there comes a focus point, a life event that defines you and what you feel you need to do in your mission as an artist. What in this history of losing your father, then your grandfather, and your brother, did you have this focus point that launched you on your present art career?
It was just the knowledge and the realization that we are all connected through this beautiful light. This beautiful, loving energy surrounds all of us, and we only have to open our eyes to see it.
Was there a singular moment of fusion, something that set you, because all of your art that I'm seeing on your website is really about going to the light or exploring what we are doing as a species and our evolution.
Yeah.
Where was that moment? Where was that aha moment that set you on the path?
I'd have to say it was Jesus' message when he came to earth that we are all connected. We are one. We're all children of God, of a loving God.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I feel that we all have a purpose in life. We're here for a reason, especially at this time. And for me, my reason and my mission is to share that light and to tell people it's beautiful. It's all around us, and we only have to accept it through God.
you've come to this realization and you have been expressing it through your art.
I have.
But how has your art changed your life personally?
It has changed my life because actually I put it aside for a little while after the 80s or so to raise my children. I have 4 children who are grown now,
Right.
and I'm going back to it because it's an important mission, and it's a mission that I didn't want to put down back in the 70s and 80s, but life, moved on, and now I feel I have a purpose and a message that needs to be heard.
What is your purpose?
If we can all accept each other with love and see the light, that we will evolve. Whether it's into death or into the next dimension, I think that we will evolve as a species,
And what is your mission?
is to paint the light and to share it. That's it.
Just that simple.
Yeah.
In the next segment, I want to look at actually some of your current work that's on your gallery site. But out of curiosity, where do you think you're going to go from here in the coming years?
I have no idea. I don't really even think about it. All I do is just paint.
You just paint.
I do.
And where does this inspiration come from?
I think I'm being guided. I really do. But I think we're all being guided in this direction. And it's just recognizing that and feeling it and moving on with it.
I understand that feeling exactly. Well, when we come back, I want to take a look at several of your paintings to really get into the message and how these paintings came across. So stay with me.
Absolutely.
This is Marshall. I'm back on with Bette Anne Wygant. Betty, what I want to do is talk about 5 images so that my listeners can actually look at the images you're talking about and we can discuss each and every one of them. And
Great.
there's a wonderful story behind each one.
Thank you.
I recall you said the one picture you did, Amazing Grace, was after your father's air crash.
Yes.
Let's start there.
Okay. Well, one day I was researching the plane crash on the internet, and I came across an article that the navigator's son had co-written with a NASA scientist,
Mm-hmm.
and his name is Ken Fortenberry, and he had designed a website about Romance of the Skies. It's a Pan Am clipper. And so I was in contact with him, and we got to share a little experience. He also had a similar experience growing up with a hole in his heart. He was a little older than me, so
Mm-hmm.
he remembered his father quite a bit more than I remembered mine, but still, it's a loss we could relate to.
Yes.
And learning about the crash and the passengers and the events of the day, I felt compelled to paint this. It's called Amazing Grace, and it's a sculptural base, an oil painting. And I started with the sea and the ocean, feeling how cold and helpless they must have been. I was drawn into it, and the more I was painting, the more I could feel the suffering and the souls in turmoil, the power of the ocean, the coldness of it, and the depth. And then in the last 10 hours of the painting, I was concentrating on the sky and lifting up the light. And I'd have to say that for 10 hours straight, I could feel in my heart, on a very deep level, I could feel their souls ascending into the light of heaven. And so I had to name it Amazing Grace.
When you were painting this, could you sense their presence?
Yes, absolutely.
As though they were looking over your shoulder?
As they were, yes, and guiding me, especially in the ascending part. I'd have to say, out of all the paintings I've ever painted, I hate to use this word, but I really do feel I was in an altered state of consciousness and experiencing their ascending souls in this particular painting, to the point where I had to name it Amazing Grace,
Yes.
the only way to describe it.
As they were looking over your shoulder, when you were
Mhm.
painting this, do you feel that they were happy with the outcome?
I hope so. I mean, it's their story being told once again from the heart.
And that is an important thing.
Yes.
So the next one we want to move on to, and it's interesting because the next one is titled Passenger.
Ah,
And this is, wow,
yeah.
an intense picture. I mean, it has this like you're right up next to creator kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
Tell me about this.
This is, I think it's about 60 inches tall, 62 inches tall, 48 inches wide.
Mm-hmm.
I built a sculptural base first. This one's very sculptural. And, I've got my headset on and I'm listening to music. And between the music and the artistic expression, it just, it puts you in another form of consciousness. It really does.
I gotta ask, what was the music you were listening to?
It's just, I listen to a lot of new age music, spiritual music. Um,
Like Enya and
yeah, yes, similar music. You know what I do is I go on Apple Music. It's like a radio station, and you get so many beautiful songs from many different artists.
uh-huh.
Liquid Mind comes to mind. That one,
I love Liquid Mind.
I love that.
I could definitely see you doing this and listening to
Yes.
Liquid
And
Mind.
Lydia, have you heard that one?
No, yeah, you've got to send me your
I
playlist.
will. It's just incredible because it's bringing together all the elements. I mean, the art, the music, the spiritual energy, and it's when I do a painting, I just immerse myself into it. And the passenger for me, this is the last leg of our journey. This is our coming home to our creator. It's called the passenger.
In other words, you done good. There's God, and it's mission complete.
Mission complete. You got it.
All right, that's what we all want to see.
Absolutely.
But getting there, aha, and this is really interesting because getting there means you got to be on the path, and that's the name of the next painting. And
Ah, the path. Let me scroll down.
the first thing that just really got me was you have this tunnel of light, but there's all these flowers
Yes.
at the bottom of the tunnel. Tell us about this.
Well, this is how I see humanity. I see us joined together, all of our little God lights. And that's what we are. We're all little sparks of God. Whether we know it or not, we will come to know it. And we see it in each other. And we're all one. Humanity is one beautiful light. And it's heading in towards the portal of light, towards the next step in our journey. And that's how I see humanity ascending.
When I looked at this, what it really focused me on is the word profound, because they use the term profound near death experience or profound out of body experience. And the way I define profound is that this is when you see yourself as an eternal being. Because once you do that, it is a permanent change. You lose your fear of death and you come back and you're less materialistic.
Absolutely.
So, my question to you is was painting the path somewhat of a profound experience?
It was because this is how I see us evolving. But we all have to be on the same page. We all have to let our little light shine. Accept it in each other. We put away our weapons.
So, this is not only seeing ourselves as eternal beings, but seeing others as well.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Then the next one I want to go on to is on the subject of evolution, the dance of
Ah,
evolution.
yes.
Now, this one is in the path, there's this beautiful elegance in the flowers,
Yes.
but in the dance of evolution, there's this almost tormented feel to it.
Mm-hmm. This came to me in a dream, and it actually was a nightmare. And I could see our little precious little blue pearl out in space.
Mm-hmm.
So fragile in the light. And it came to me how I should paint it and how I should sculpt it. And I woke up and went straight to it, started building it
So you saw this in a dream.
in a dream. Yes.
Explain the picture itself to us a little more. What are you expressing here?
Well, our oceans are dying.
Mm-hmm.
There's kelp dying. Our seaweed is dying. Our atmosphere is, we're too much geoengineering. Our atmosphere, our food, our magnetosphere is very fragile and taking a beating. And our life, our future hangs in the balance. And to me, the question is, will we survive long enough to evolve?
Wow, that, Betty, is a question that is at the front of everyone's mind.
Absolutely.
And especially mine because we've got to change our way of doing things because we're such terrible stewards of the planet.
I know.
And as you were talking, yeah, I could see the blue of the ocean. I could see the sea.
Yes.
I could see all of this. And the light at the center, which is your dominant theme, seems
Hopeful.
hopeful.
But
Finish it for me.
but there's a lot else going on.
Yes, there's a lot else going on.
This one actually was featured worldwide on LinkedIn, and I also take part in many conversations all over the world, different art groups, different science groups, and I like to sort of raise a little bit of awareness when I can, and I put the question out there, will we survive long enough to evolve? And it's about communication, isn't it?
You put out the question. What were the answers?
You'd be surprised. A lot of people still don't believe that there's a problem. They look the other way.
Denial.
Yeah, it's crazy. But you still have to keep asking the question because we know it's real and we know that our planet really hangs in the balance right now. And I pray that we will evolve as a species and as a planet. It's a beautiful little pearl.
I agree with you. And I tend to be hopeful in the sense that we're going to go through a difficult time that is going to break down the status quo. I think Earth is more durable than we are.
I hope so.
And, the Native Americans say that Earth is getting ready to, like a dog, shaking off water. We're about to get the same treatment.
Mm-hmm. And that's why that field needs to come into light. We need to shine those lights and join together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And obviously, here, I mean, you're looking at it and you see us, on the cusp, if you will, of a period of terrible tribulation and loss of life, yes?
Yes. I'm hopeful. Spiritually, I know that we can survive.
Mm-hmm.
I pray for our evolution.
So do I.
Yes.
That brings us to the fifth and final one. And this is, as I understand, it's your most current,
Yes.
the reception.
Yes, I just finished it.
Oh, man, I am telling you, Betty, when I saw this, you just knocked my socks off.
Thank you.
There's so much going on here. Tell us about the reception.
Well, this is our homecoming. This is our friends greeting us warmly as we arrive. We will be received, God willing.
Mm-hmm.
We will be received.
In other words, as you are going to the light,
Mm-hmm.
you have to choose to go to the light. That was the one thing that Shumsky made a key point of. Everybody can go to the light. A lot of people don't go for one reason or another until eventually they spend enough time in between worlds to go,
Right.
okay, I'm doing it. And so here we have people going to the light. And are you expressing like family and friends or meeting them?
Oh, absolutely. All of our loved ones and our Creator welcomes us home.
And how did you use color in this to express that?
I wanted a warm feeling. I didn't want it to be red or, a scary look. I wanted it to be welcoming. The white, of course, is the pure light of our Creator.
Right.
And then it gets warm as it comes out to the edge. And then there's a little feeling of outer space on the edges. And that's how I see our return home. It's a drifting, and it's a welcoming glow.
Wow. This picture, I love all your art.
Thank you.
Like I said, you had asked me, it was like, which one do I like the most? It's like saying, okay, Marshall, what's your favorite Sinatra tune? And they're all my favorites. But this one, based on my own experiences, wow, this one really hits it.
Yeah.
And Betty, I have so enjoyed this, and I thank you so much about sharing your life.
Thank you.
What happened to your family, how that has shaped your art. Would you have a final message to the listeners out there about going to the light?
Keep God in your heart. Realize that we are all little lights of God. We're like little candles in the darkness, and we will go home together.
I like that. Betty, thank you for a fabulous interview.
Thank you.